Reach out, oh, with Ray and Steve. Reach out, with Ray and Steve. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the car. Root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. Play ball.
Hello, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. My name is Robbie Robinson. I'm coming to you live from Nashville, Tennessee, and I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a happy holiday, and welcome to the Ray and Steve Reach Out with Ray and Steve show. Now, tonight we've got a very special start because, as most of you know, if you watch this show, community outreach is a big part of what we do here at Ray and Steve. And of course, we're Bronx centric because those guys are coming to you straight from Bronx, New York. So right now we're going to start with a segment, a community reach out segment from Bronx, New York. So take it away, guys.
Well, thank you, Robbie, for that introduction, and Merry Christmas to you, and God bless you. I know you're in Nashville. Are you safe out there?
We're safe. You know what that bombing did for us personally? It shut down our internet and our cell service for Christmas Day and the day after. So we had to talk to each other. It was quite a new concept.
Well, bottom line is you're safe. I was worried about you, and you mean a lot to me. So the fact that you're okay, your family's okay, that's the big deal. And not too many people were hurt.
Right.
That's the key. Merry Christmas.
Right.
Merry
God
Christmas.
bless you. And we got Louis Castillo on the line. Robbie said we're opening up with community.
Well, here's the thing, Steve. New York Daily News. I don't know. Could you show them the clip of the New York Daily News, Peter? Look at this. Bronx beat Yankees whiffed with $50,000 donation to 10 local businesses. Okay, now the Bronx Borough President, his name is
Diaz.
Ruben Diaz
Yes.
Jr. Okay, and Ruben Diaz Jr. I've known for a long time, and I've considered him a pal per se. But for him to knock the Yankees the way he did was bothersome to me. And with that being said, I want to bring in a community activist and just all-time good guy and a former Yankee bat boy to boot, Louis Squeegee Castillo. Louis, how are you, brother?
How you doing, guys? Merry Christmas. Good to see you guys, man. How you guys doing?
Luigi in the
Merry
house.
Christmas, and good to see you, my man. Talk about what's going on in the Bronx and what the Yankees do for the community year after year.
I don't want to go into year after year. I want to get down to the nitty gritty. This year,
Go ahead.
during tough times from February, the outreach programs that the New York Yankee organizations, from Brian Smith to Ray Negron to Lon Traz to Brian Cashman, helping out with $200,000 voucher meals for urban kids that doesn't get mentioned because it's like the Steinbrenner way. They don't like to be known about it. They do it secretly, and that's the thing that some people are not aware of. And let me tell you something, around my community, and not just only my community, we've gone towards all over the Bronx with me and Ray, and thank you to Gio Glaber, the David Cones that have helped out since February, handing out meals, toys, hand sanitizers, you name it. And it was part of the Yankee tradition, and the New York Yankees love doing that. And I think, and I really am bothered by the article that I read a couple of days ago by the Bronx Borough President. And I know he talks a lot about the Yankees, and he's been at Yankee Stadium. I even met him at Yankee Stadium, know his father, know his background. They're good people. But I spoke to Joe from Yankee Tavern today, the owner of the Yankee Tavern, and he's happy, ecstatic that the Yankees gave him, money to stay afloat and other businesses. And he
Right.
said the other partners there feel the same.
Well, you know what? I'm just happy that you were able to come on today, and you're Luis Castillo. He's going to be a regular reach out guy from the standpoint of letting us know what actually is. He lives right there in the Bronx. See, when I go into the Bronx, I get to go back to Long Island, dippity doo dah. But he lives in the Bronx. He's there. He wakes up in the Bronx. He knows the aspect of the shootings and everything else. That's the things that concern me.
Ray,
And I worry about the children.
Ray, I would like to say over the years, a lot of Yankee players have been around my neighborhood and gave hope to a lot of these kids who now have jobs, have families, and went the right way because a likes of Ruben Sierra, Ramiro Mendoza, or a David Cohn came to the Bronx and said, "Hey, kid, it's going to be all right. Everything's going to be okay." And those words go a long way from people like that.
And Squeegee, what really delights a lot of people, but you and Ray, when you guys team up and do something, you represent different generations of the Yankees, and together you represent their legacy. So by you coming on tonight, sharing what you're bothered by this year, because we're all suffering during this pandemic, and what you need to see happen for your Bronx, I want to commend you for coming on and talking about passionately.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna pull a little change up. I'm sorry, Steve, because but I'm gonna pull a little bit of a change up. Again, my producer, who's the best in the business, do me a favor. Could you bring in Jeff Nelson now first? Okay.
Man.
Okay, bring in Jeff Nelson. Jeffrey.
Weege,
Yeah, so you guys know each other?
what's happening, Weege?
What's up, Jeff? Hey, man, I still got marks on the back of my neck from them grapes you threw at me in the clubhouse, man. Hey, you're a class act, man. Good to see
Yeah,
you.
you too. Good
brother.
seeing you, man. Merry Christmas.
So,
Merry
Jeff, I guess Ray wanted to bring you on now to talk about the Bronx and what it means to do the community work that the Yankees do. But in general, what are your thoughts about Squeegee, what he just said?
Oh, he was awesome back in the day. I miss him every time. He was one of the best. He was, especially when he did that. He was the ball boy down the foul lines too, man. He made some good catches down there. He was a bat boy in the clubhouse. He was a great guy. He was good to be around.
Right. And
Thank
during
you.
this pandemic is a struggle for all of us. Talk about the community in the Bronx. I know you played for the Yanks. You're a commentator now for the Yes Network. But talk about what it means to give back to the people that are in the Bronx at this point.
Well, I mean, it's always important as an athlete or even anyone to give back to the community, especially the place that you play around, and that's in the Bronx in the Yankee Stadium. You have looks like old Yankee Stadium in your background, which I miss terribly. But anything that you can do in the community to give back, and like Ouija said, I listened to him before when I came on to give people hope. Especially now, when everybody's homeschooling or they're doing the Zoom schooling and virtual schooling at home with kids that don't have a chance to have computers or just to be able to learn like they normally should, or even some of the homeless that are around that area or less fortunate around the Bronx that need help, especially during this time. I mean, any time that you can give back is an important thing.
Right, no doubt, no doubt. And then, Jeff, you played for the Yanks, four-time world champion, so kudos to that. You had a career ERA of 3.41, but you also played for the Mariners, not once, but twice, but three times. Talk about how that was going back to Seattle every now and then.
Well, when I played there, when I first came up there in '92, I was there until after '95 season, and Tino and I got traded to New York, and that's where everything started. We had a great time once we became a Yankee. Tino and I actually played together for ever since '89 all the way till 2000. But there was only two places that I really wanted to play, and that was either in Seattle or New York. And if it wasn't going to be with the Yankees, then I was going to go back to Seattle, and that's where I made my home. I'm from Baltimore, but during the season, I made my home there, and even in the winter. So if I wasn't going to play in New York or have an opportunity to play for the Yankees, then I was going to go out and play in Seattle, and that happened 3 times.
Wow.
Jeffrey, now, the legacy of the Yankees, I mean, you were in the second greatest scenario as far as great Yankee teams. I mean, how did it feel to be a part of that with such great players?
Wait, do you remember
Yeah.
98, Ray? Who was better than that team? Who was the first?
Well, look,
Second.
I know what you're gonna say. I don't want to get into a fight with you because I'm so partial to the Yankees of the '70s. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm not gonna even get into that one. Okay, okay.
Tell him, Jeff, tell him.
How did it feel to be in such a wonderful era, such a wonderful team of the Yankees of the '90s like that?
Oh, well, I mean, it was incredible. The city was nuts. I mean, you were winning every single year. 97 was the only year that we didn't go to the World Series. So when you go to the World Series of the Yankee, and especially playing at Old Yankee Stadium, there's nothing like it. And that is, I mean, I miss that stadium behind you. And it was electric, 50-some thousand fans every night. It was the loudest outdoor stadium I've ever been a part of. And, to win 4 World Series in 5 years. And it's, you're not going to be able to forget about that. I mean, I don't know if there's anybody that's going to be able to even go 2 times and win back-to-back World Series,
Right.
much less
That's
3.
right. That's right. Well, there's a crazy game that you were part of. You closed out, and we wanted to show our viewers out there how crazy this game was. Let's check it out.
Struck him out. And the Yankees have won the wildest, highest scoring game in the history of Yankee Stadium. Here on the 75th anniversary of the opening of this venerable old ballpark. They fell behind 5-0. They came back to take a 12-5 lead.
Oh my God.
That's a crazy game right there.
It is. We played some crazy ones. I remember that was 98. I mean, in 98, we lost the first 4 games out on the West Coast, and everybody thought that, they're going to have to make a managerial change. The Yankees are not going to be the same, and, what's going on? They lose in 97. Next thing you know, they go out on the West Coast with traditionally they've never really done well, or at least opened up well, and we didn't. And we finally won our first game in Oakland, and then we win 125 games later. So, there's a lot of strange years, a lot of odd things that happen when you're a Yankee.
That's right.
Unbelievable.
Well, Squeegee, want to thank you for joining us.
No, wait a minute. One last question here. Jeffrey, how did it feel to work with the second greatest bat boy in Yankee history?
Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know you right back then. I was probably not even born when you were a bat boy back then.
There we go.
I'm going to go with Weezy being the best one.
That's a good one, Jeff. But Squeege, thank you for all the great work you do for your people in the Bronx.
Keep it
God
up,
bless you,
Squeegee.
man.
We love you.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Love you guys, Jeff, Robbie. I love
Well,
you guys. Merry
well-
Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Happy holiday. Robbie, we lost a legend, Phil Niekro, and he played for the Braves for 20 years, and he played for the Yankees. We have a clip. But what's your recollection? You've been a big Dodger fan of Phil Niekro. You've seen him, 318 career wins, 3.34 ERA, over 5,000 innings pitched, 3,000 Ks. What's your recollections being a fan from Dodgerland?
My recollection, actually, we did a Frankie Valli concert one year when on the team that he was either managing or coaching. I forget which one. It was right after the game, so I got the chance to hang out with him a little bit. It was kind of fun. But this guy, how many games did he pitch? It's crazy. I don't know, was he about 75 or 80 years old when he quit pitching?
Well,
I don't know if anybody's ever pitched that long.
No, well, we have a clip when he won his 300th game in Toronto at the age of 47.
Wow.
Check this out. Check out the scooter, Phil Rizzuto. Check
The
it
ball
out.
and 2 strikes, 2 out. 1 pitch maybe away from win number 300. Historical moment. The Yankees ready to charge out. I hope they don't try to lift Niekro up on their shoulders. At his age, he might fall. That's it! Holy cow, what a way to end it! A strikeout gets his 300th career win, and I tell you, this is really an exciting moment In a year that's been filled with exciting moments for the Yankees, the brothers hugging, and I want to tell you that is really an emotional moment. Phil Niekro is really something. At 47 years of age, I mean, it's unbelievable. By the way, it's his 7th.
Amazing.
There he is. That's Phil Niekro and his brother Joe, and we're going to bring in Mike Pagliarulo. Pegs, welcome to Reach Out with Ray and Steve, sir.
Hey,
Welcome,
how's it going, guys?
Michael.
What's up? Hey, Nelly.
What's up, Pags?
How you doing?
You guys,
Hey, I was watching that game just before I come on here, and I just happened to pull it up on YouTube, and I watched most of the game. And my gosh, what a great thrill to just be part of it. I didn't realize, I was just my second year in, but it was a great game. And
That was
Nuxie was
crazy.
awesome. He was just a class act.
yeah, that was a crazy game.
Tell us a little bit about Phil and your relationship with him, etc.
Well, I mean, I came up in an organization where they had MVPs, All-Stars, and Hall of Famers, and I was just fortunate because you learn from people like that. He was, he was as old as my mother actually, and when he's on the mound, I'm trying to take away the bunt. He's like, "Don't worry about it, get back there." And he's such a competitor in his 40s, and and right before that last game, he had gone back and forth. I guess Dad was sick or dying or something like that, or something like that. And so he had pitched about 5 games where he couldn't get his 300th win. In that game, he finally got it, which was great. And I think most of the game he didn't throw any knuckleballs. he threw all sinkers or fastballs.
Yeah.
I don't know if you call them fastballs, but
Yeah, I think the last pitch was a knuckleball. It's the only
Final.
knuckleball he threw. But
Yeah.
it was interesting because the Yankees were going down to the wire with the Blue Jays, and I think you guys lost the game at that last series and then opened up the door for Phil to do that game on that Sunday.
yeah, it was a close series. We had him back at our place a couple weeks before that, and I think they won 2 out of 3. But it was a big crowd. It was a big crowd not only at our place, Yankee Stadium, but also in Toronto. It was fun to play in. It was a lot of fun.
Right.
But and they had one on Saturday, so that Sunday, they were. It was a game that we all wanted to play and win for Nuxie because he's such a great guy and such a great pro, and he's always good to everybody. Very generous man. And a couple of years ago, they did something in New York for him, the alumni, and I saw him there, and he remembered that game. Pitchers always remember, but either when you hit home runs off them or you hit home runs for them. He's like, "Peck, remember that home run you hit?" I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's. He goes, man. I remember that 300 wins, and so it was wonderful, And it was so nice to have his brother there too.
Yeah, Joe Niekro. That doesn't happen often to have both of them there. But we started the show off talking about community. Jeff shared about community. Robbie brought it up. Ray's done it. How important it is for you to give back to the community, especially during this pandemic?
Well, I think as a player and as part of an organization, it's a lot easier and it's a lot of fun. For me, it's very fulfilling helping out people, whether it's at Thanksgiving or things like this pandemic. And it's so good to see teams helping out because they're in a position to do that, and players really enjoy doing it because during the season it's difficult. Guys are playing every day. They go home. They don't have much time at home. They're at the field working all the time, and so much is going on around them. And so when they have a little free time, they can give back, and it's really it's fulfilling for most people. I think you find that most guys want to help out, and the Yankees, of course, are very generous, and the Steinbrenners have always been that way, and it's a great organization to be part of.
Right.
Now, Jeff and Mike, you guys are from a little bit of different era. How did George Steinbrenner impact you guys or the organization per se? Did you see the same type of individual? And Mike, you go first.
Well, I saw one individual that he wasn't happy when he lost, and he always wanted to win. And thank God for that, because I wouldn't want to play for an owner that doesn't want to win. And I think there's some out there like that. But typically that series in Toronto, the series we had before that at home, we were coming home to play them. We were on a road trip on a Sunday night, and this is typical George. We were somewhere, and we had a rain delay. We didn't get in until 6 in the morning. When we got in at 6 in the morning, he had limousines waiting for every player, take them to their houses so that they get rest.
Wow.
And we went to Newark, and nobody ever wrote anything about it. No one talked about it, but he did stuff like that, but if he wants to get angry when we lose or whatever, then that's his right. But I mean, my gosh, he does everything. He did everything he could to win, and heck, I wouldn't want to play for anybody else like that. I mean, that's how you're supposed to play. You're supposed to play to win, and the Steinbrenners want to win. It's as simple as that.
How about you, Jeff?
Well, as far as the attitude and the desire to win, that didn't change in one bit from when he was there with Pags. He was, as far as giving back in the community, Mr. Steinbrenner did so much stuff that nobody even knew. I remember, I think there was like 3 different things that we used to do as a Yankee. One of them, I think, what was a Boys and Girls Club in Tampa during spring training. We did some other things here in New York. But he was always someone that was very generous as far as giving his time and donating his money to great causes. But as far as winning, he was a fan. He was an owner that was a fan. Right. And he wanted to win for the city of New York more than anybody. And he had a passion to win. If you weren't the type of player that wasn't going to be able to handle New York, he knew exactly who that was. He tested you right away. But as far as caring about his organization and caring about the city, I don't know if there was another owner in baseball, maybe in sports, that cared more than he did. And, Pags talked about a little bit of, the limousines picking up the guys and taking them to their houses. Well, he did the same thing in a sense in the 2000 World Series when we were over at Shea Stadium and a pipe broke. And we had the facilities over there were terrible anyway. And he goes, you know what? I want my guys to feel comfortable. And he had all the furniture taken out of our locker room, and he brought it all into the visiting locker room at Shea Stadium. Said, you know what? I want my guys to be comfortable here. I want them to have comfortable seats. And just like it was home. And that's what he was about. I mean, he wanted to make sure everybody had the best chance to win.
Unbelievable. And let me ask you guys, I mean, Jeffrey, first of all, how do you feel about being on the broadcast booth now? How's that working out for you? How do you feel as far as overall?
Oh, it's great. I missed the game. Obviously, you always miss it when you can't play. But I love talking about the game and teaching people that are listening about the game. I never forgot that I played, so I make sure that everybody knows that, hey, this is not an easy game when guys are down there maybe making a mistake or even doing a great job. You try to explain that. So that's something that I've never forgot. Pags was actually with Mattingly in Miami when I'm doing with the Marlins, so I got to see Pags quite a bit. And it's a game that I love, and I love talking about and love trying to teach viewers.
Right. Well, right before the show, we got this last-minute call from a guy named Mike Dempsey. And he sent me this video clip that he kind of took you downtown. No. So I told Mike, I'll show it so we can remind Jeff.
I have nothing to do with this.
Ray knew everything about this.
I have nothing to do with this, Jeff.
Let's show the clip. Let's show the clip. God. I don't know.
Okay, that's enough.
That's enough. Okay.
Center fielder should have had it. I don't know. Plus, it was about 40 miles an hour. If you can't hit
it looks like you were throwing a lob up there.
If you ask
I was also
him,
out till 5 in the morning the night before. So,
Jeff, if you ask him, he says it was 97 miles an hour.
Of course. Of course he did.
Probably said he hit it out too.
Yeah.
But gentlemen, thank you so very much for continuing that Yankee tradition, and thank you for joining us here tonight, sharing some thoughts about Phil Niekro and the community work and the playing careers that you both have. God bless you both.
Okay, thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They helped me. Thanks for having me.
Thank you,
God
brother.
bless. God
Appreciate
bless.
both of you.
Robbie, what do you think?
Man, a couple of great Yankees, and the Yankees have had a great winning tradition. There's no doubt about it. So my hat is off to them. And I loved Jeff's comeback to our buddy Ray here about.
Oh, you would.
Team.
You would love that.
Yeah, well, that's
nice.
Good.
Thanks, pal.
Good observation there, Robbie. Good.
Hey,
that's what you're all about. But you know what? There's another gentleman.
This
Bart
show is
Hernandez.
really bringing up.
Hey,
There's another gentleman, Bart Hernandez, has been a great sports agent for a number of years. And
but let me just say, number one, I grew up with this young man or this individual who's no longer, anyway, bottom line is, I grew up with Bart Hernandez. I've known him since we're like 15 years old. And he's just been a great guy who's represented some of the great players in baseball, including Aroldis Chapman of the New York Yankees.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
And that's a great scenario because he was with the Reds. He almost went to the Dodgers, came to the Yankees, went to the Cubs, came back to the Yankees, and there he is in Cincinnati with New York. And he came over from Cuba, and there he is pitching in Cuba.
Now, take it from here, Steve.
Yeah, so Bart Hernandez, why don't you join us on the show here today? Thank you so very much, and thank you for joining us. You know this guy over here, right?
I definitely do. And first of all, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all.
Merry Christmas to you, sir.
And for sure, I know Mr. Ray Negron.
Yeah, yeah. Well, talk about, you're a sports agent. You've been that way for a long, long time professionally. First of all, let's talk about Chapman because that journey.
Steve.
Oh, here we go.
I just want to point out to the people, he's not your typical sports agent because he played professional baseball for the Montreal Expos.
There we go. Okay, there we go.
So he knows the game inside out. I don't think that there's a sports agent out there, okay, not even the big guy, who knows the game like Bart Hernandez knows the game.
Good point. Stand
That's
corrected.
very nice of you to say, Ray.
No, it's the truth.
So talk about the Expos aren't there anymore. When you came up with the Expos, talk about that journey.
Well, that was a great franchise back then. Remember, all the big guys were there. The big guys coming up. Remember Tim Raines, Gary Carter, the Hawk, Wallach. Then you even had
Steve Rogers.
Steve Rogers and those guys. Well, Andres Galarraga.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of guys. It was a great franchise. Unfortunately, things happened up there. I guess the fans, they had some losing. The fans didn't support them. They didn't have the money. And I guess, when Laurie had them and same scenario, and then MLB took over them, and then they made the move to Washington. But it was a great franchise.
Right. Now, you've had great success as a sports agent. Okay, you like Steve said, you brought Chapman over, this and that, but then something happened on the way to the rodeo. Could you explain?
Oh, obviously. Well, first of all, myself and my two business partners, Barry Prater and Scott Shapiro, and I would say from around 2007, 2006, around there, we basically represented the majority of the top
cream of the crop.
The cream of the crop of the Cuban talent that was coming over. I was a niche due to the fact that I'm Cuban American. I was living in Miami. I speak the language. I'm a baseball person. So it was just easy to get into that. And then obviously one player recommends another and so on and so on. Then everybody wants to be with you. You know, you guys have Scott Boras at the big league level, right? When a guy's a free agent, a lot of the guys want to go to Scott Boras. So Cuban ball players, at first there was Joe Cuba, Ray, remember back then?
Yes.
He was the first one. And then Jaime Torres represented some of the Cubans, but they weren't making the type of money they were making as the later years. And then when we came on, we representing guys, we were doing record-breaking contracts, including Jose Abreu, $68 million, which was at that time the largest bonus signing contract ever given to an international player, period, including Japanese players and all that. Soler, Raisel Iglesias, etc. I did not represent Chapman. We didn't represent Chapman when he first came out. We represented him after the fact. We signed him when he was with Cincinnati, before he got traded to the Yankees.
Right. And that was a great job because he went from the Reds to the Yankees, almost to the Dodgers. I understand the Red Sox were interested in him, but you worked with him, and then he went to the Cubs and came back to the Yankees.
I want to get into Bart. I don't care about Chapman. I want to get into the aspect of Bart. So let's get moving with that.
All right. So Bart, your journey took you down a difficult road. Can you explain to our viewers what that was?
Yeah. Unfortunately, like I was mentioning before, we were the top guys representing Cuban players, and when that happens, there's a lot of heat on you. And it's I had to deal with a lot of, shall we say, unsavory characters that they were the sponsors of those players when they were in the Dominican Republic, Mexico, wherever those players landed. So it so happens there was an academy in Mexico, and I was representing 4 players from them. It seems that those guys were dealing with Cubans, not just players, for years. And I represented the players, including Adeni Chavarria. One of them, we signed the players. Nevertheless, those guys were being investigated. So when they got caught, not just for the players, for regular Cubans, it's easy for them just to say, oh, yeah, Bart Hernandez was giving me names of players, which is not true. But anyway, that's just the way it went. And then from there on, I was indicted and I went to trial. They had given me a plea deal. They wanted me to say some things that I didn't want to say against Major League Baseball, actually, which was not true. So I just stuck to my gun and I went to trial. And this is something totally different that I'm actually right now trying to be like an activist a little bit about it and educate the public on citizens when they actually sit in the jury and what goes on, with the prosecutors and everything. Just because you're sitting there doesn't mean you're guilty. But most of us, like I had never been in trouble with the law in my life. I always thought that if somebody was sitting in a courtroom accused of something, they were guilty. But boy, did I learn from this experience. But nevertheless, good or bad, things happen for a reason. And I think, this happened to me and it put me in a place, and I've helped a lot of people in prison when I was there. And
So you got in. So then, how many years did they give you?
Well, they first offered me 18 months as a plea deal, and I didn't want to do that because I didn't do what they said I did. So it's my principle. So I went to trial. So once you go to trial, then the jury finds you guilty because they first of all they put a co-defendant on me. That's how they muddle the water. And they gave me 46 months because I went to trial. So that's 3 years and 10 months.
And how much time did you actually spend?
Well, thank the Lord, I was able to file the motion. My attorneys filed the motion for me for a compassion release because my mom is elderly and she lived in New York. And, the COVID pandemic was at the height at that time. So I was able to get a compassion release in April. So I really did 2 years and 4 months.
So you lost 2 years of your life in this situation.
Well, I don't say I lost it. I said I gained some experience from this. And like I said before, things happen for a reason. And I'm working with different groups, prison reform groups and stuff like that. And there's a lot of good things that are going to go forward coming from here. A lot of good things happen from there while I was inside, by the way. Because like I said, God works in mysterious ways, man,
Well, the one thing that I learned was the loyalty that your partners showed to you, because many people would have ran to the hills, okay? And they always had your back, and I have to give them a lot of credit for that.
For sure, because listen, it could have been them. They were right there with me.
Right.
But they just chose me,
Yeah.
But they were right there with me.
Yeah, but I've seen, the one thing I learned about show business and sports, which is the same thing, loyalty is not a big factor in there, okay? As Robbie Robinson knows, because he's seen it, or Tony Orlando has seen it, etc., and it's just, hey, do me a favor. Let's bring Tony into this conversation, okay? Can you do that, Peter? Tony,
Tony Orlando.
how
Thank
are
you,
you?
sir.
Oh, Mr. Hernandez, how are you?
Mr. Orlando, how are you?
Pleasure. And
Okay,
I was just listening to his story, and somebody has to make a movie about that.
Oh, wow.
I'm not kidding. I mean,
Tony,
when you take the Cuban ball players and the existence of them getting out of that country to come play baseball in America, where there's a place of freedom, and here you are, an agent, taking those ball players on, and then you get in trouble, and then you go to jail, and you got your butt on the line. I think it's an amazing baseball story and an international one.
Bart, tell him what's going on.
I couldn't hear well what he was saying because it was.
He said that it should be a movie. He should tell him what's happening, Bart.
Well, Tony, that's what I was inside. A producer actually, they followed my case and they found it interesting and they actually looked into it and they basically felt that I was being made an example, or somehow, and I did sign, to be an associate producer, and it's loosely based on my life story.
Tell him who the director is.
It's the producer from, well, first of all, the producer is the ones that did Black Klansman, Sean Riddick and Yvette Yates. And they did Black Klansman, Get Out. And the writers were David Rabinowitz and Charlie Washtel. They were award-winning writers. And the director is John Leguizamo. So it's already in the works. It's going to start shooting. The pandemic slowed it down. It'll start shooting next, I think it was June or July of next year, God willing.
That's great. I'll tell you what, that's some story. You suffered, and you suffered because you were loyal, not only to yourself and your own principle, but the people around you and the players that you represent. And here is the great part of that story.
Ray, could you tell me what he's saying? Because his phone is it's staticky.
Okay, go ahead,
Can you hear me
Tony.
now?
It's like a commercial.
Could you say it, Ray? Because
Tell him this. Tell him this, Ray. That this story is not only important because it's a story of loyalty, but sacrifice. Because Mr. Hernandez sacrificed for his own principle and took the blows. It's like in the song "My Way" that Paul Anka wrote. I ate it up and spat it out, and that's exactly what he just did. And God will reward him for that honesty and that ability to sacrifice his own life for his own principle. And the people he represents now know what kind of man of honor he will be due to this film.
Right.
Go ahead,
He was
Tony.
saying, Bart, Tony was saying that you're a man of was sacrifice, but loyalty, but it's a sacrifice that you made to represent others and to help others, and that God sees that, and your message is getting out there to kind of settle the score, but also to share with the world basically what you've done to open up the doors for some of these Cuban players.
And that the players will understand your principles and the kind of man that you really are.
Well, thank you, Tony. Well, first of all the players, most of the players I represented, they stuck with me and they stayed with my partners, my company, because they know that I had nothing to do how they got out, and they thought it was an injustice that I was, this happened to me. But again, I don't feel sorry for myself. Like I said before, there's a God and there's a reason, and he does things for you for certain things. And he opened my eyes to be an activist in a way to what's going on with the judicial system, with the prison reforms that we need. And there's a lot of guys in prison that there's no way they should be in there, Right. Yeah, there's a lot of guilty people that deserve to be in prison, but there's a lot of guys that shouldn't be in there. I saw them myself.
Well, Bart, I want to say that, number one, Tony, when this case was going on, there was a lot of people in baseball that ran for the mountains. You understand what I'm saying? And when Bart and his people asked if I would go testify on his behalf, hey, I went there. I was the first one at the court. Am I right, Bart?
Absolutely, and I'm very grateful. But that's a true friend,
Okay, because that's what you're supposed to.
There's a lot of people in baseball that supported me too. So not everybody. A lot of people in baseball, actually, MLB. They're very supportive team, scouts. They know the story. They know the real deal. So they were very supportive too.
Well, Bart, thank you so very much. God bless you. We'll have to get you back on the show in a couple of months. But thank you for sharing your story. And,
hold on, and Bart, let me just say, because you have a lot to say in your movie, and I got two of the greatest music people in the world, in Tony Orlando and Robbie Robinson, and you better talk to them because these guys know how to do music, and
hey,
they know how to music.
Actually, Ray, there's a guy named Sergio George. Tell Mr. Hernandez to write that name down.
No, I know who Sergio George is.
Okay.
I'm from New York, and I know.
Well, that's my buddy. He'd be a great part of your movie musically, wouldn't he?
Yes, he would be. I know Sergio. I know.
And, he's living in New Jersey now. He's living in Jersey.
I know him from his day doing stuff for Ralph Mercado, RMM.
He's a great man.
He is. He's a great guy. He's
a soulful man too.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. I like that.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Well, let's go.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll even bring in Frankie Valli to play shortstop in the movie.
Hey, listen. You know, he probably plays better than you did, Ray.
Hey, boy, get him off. That's enough with Bart.
That's a
Hernandez.
parting gift there, Bart.
That's
God
enough with
bless
him.
you, man.
That's
God
it.
bless you.
Yeah.
But
Listen,
thank
guys,
you so
God
very
bless.
much. Happy New
Christmas,
Year.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you, and may 21 be a wonderful year for all of us. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Well
Bart.
said, sir. Well said.
Bye-bye.
So, Robbie, you got Tony Orlando on the same screen with you guys. Talk about that.
Hello, Robbie.
My friend Tony. You
Hello,
know,
Mr. Barrow. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee tonight.
Are you?
Yeah. And I want to talk about Tony for a minute, if I might, gentlemen.
Yeah, go right ahead, sir.
Tony Orlando, this guy is not only one of the great superstars of our music business. I mean, this guy, he's an amazing singer, a fantastic songwriter. He's a television host. Of course, he had the big Tony Orlando and Dawn TV show back in the day.
I got lucky.
Oh no! And he was a telethon host. He hosted the Jerry Lewis Telethon for many years.
Yes.
He was even an A&R man in our business. He's got I can't think of anybody with a bigger heart in our business than Tony Orlando. This guy is he's a special guy. And now he's one of the best radio hosts in New York.
That's right.
Who knew I would be going into the radio business? But it's been great, man. I'll tell you, I never had I told this to Ray on the phone the other day. I never had a better time than what I'm experiencing with WABC in New York. And I was doing it, I thought, as a favor, to be honest with you. I got a call from Bruce Morrow and, of course, John Catsimatidis, who owns the station, who I've known for years. And he called me up and he goes, "Hey, Tony, you ever think about doing radio?" I said, "Right now, I'm out of work for 7 months. All I know is I'll get the coffee for anybody at this point." He goes, "Would you do a radio show?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "In New York?" I said, "You want me to fly into New York every week?" He said, "No, you can do it right from your house." I said, "Well, sure. I'll do it." "For how long?" He said, "Well, how long you want?" So in comes this guy, gets the engineer, my brother David, all the stuff, the Comrex and all that, and the microphone. And I get on the air. And after the first show, I call Adam Sandler. And I said, "Adam, would you come on as a guest?" And he did. Then I called Lionel Richie. I said, "Lionel, would you come on as a guest?" And he did. Then I called Frankie Valli, and he came on the show, as you know, and he did. Then I called Paul Anka. These are all buddies of mine I've known forever. And they were so great to me. They made this show maybe one of the hottest shows. I don't know. All I know
It's the hottest show in New York.
Right. Yeah.
It is the hottest radio show in New York right now.
It's crazy. You know something? It's crazy. It's like living la vida loca. I'm sitting there going, "Wait a minute. Here's what's so crazy about it, you guys. I'm playing records, but in radio, which is the theater of the mind, I feel like I'm doing a concert. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Earth, Wind, and Fire. And here they come out and they play a set. And here, ladies and gentlemen, here's Paul Anka. And he comes out and he does this. I feel like I'm doing a television show because that's what's going on in people's minds. And that's what I'm trying to create, is them feeling during this pandemic that they're going to a concert, which they can't go to.
Right.
Unbelievable. But you know who's listening to the show every Saturday is your boy, Me Chasky. Okay?
I know.
Unbelievable.
And it's funny. Ray and our families went out to dinner at Patsy's a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, tell them
On a
that.
Saturday night. So we're eating. We realize it's 9:45 that Tony's show is coming on. So we rush to eat. We get in the car and sit in traffic for 2 hours.
Put it in your mouth. Put it in your mouth.
Just to
Let's
listen
go. We
to
got to
you.
go.
And
True story.
that was a great sitting in traffic listening to you, my man.
That's funny. I owe Meat Chasky a lot because it was Meat Chasky. And I'll explain, Robbie, Meat Chasky is a character.
Okay.
I mean, they could make a movie about Meat Chasky.
Yes.
I mean, he's one of a kind, okay? But he knows all these baseball players. He knows every baseball player. So I'm doing a show in Florida, and he says to me, "Can I have an autograph?" He's standing by, but can I have your autograph? He has like 32 of my albums. And he's grown up. He's 110 years old. I'm thinking, why does he want my albums? And he comes up. He goes, "Here, man, could you sign my album?" He said, as I'm signing, I go, sure. He goes, "You like baseball?" I said, "Yeah, I love baseball. It's my life. Are you kidding me?" He said, "You like the Yankees?" I said, "Come on, please. I'm a New York kid."
Yeah.
He goes, "You want to go see a Yankee game tomorrow in Florida, spring training?" I said, you have seats?" He said, "No, I can get you. Call this guy, Ray Negron.
Oh yeah.
Call Ray Negron. He'll meet you in front of the stadium." So I think, "Are you sure?" "Yeah, I'll meet you there." Who do I call? So what do I have to thank Meek Jasky for? He introduces me to Ray Negron.
Wow.
Who introduces me to Cashman, who then introduces me to every Yankee legend ever that lived, who then introduces me to just about everybody in baseball. My baseball dreams came true because of Meek Jasky, who introduced me to that guy sitting
Wow.
at the table right there, who's become
Tony.
my brother, who's become like my brother to me, Ray is. And Mead has been doing baseball cards, right, Ray?
Yes. Yeah, forever. He's the king. He's the guru. He's the guru of
right?
memorabilia. But please tell everybody how you, when you met George Steinbrenner. I find that the greatest story when you met Steinbrenner.
Oh, well, I have two times with George Steinbrenner. The first time, you remember when the Yankees and the Mets were sharing a stadium in Florida, right? So that goes back to the 70s, kind of, right?
Right.
George Steinbrenner, he sees me and he says, "You want to go to the game today?" And I said, so he says, "Sit in my seats." I have no idea where his seats are. I just didn't realize that I'm talking to the owner. I did at that time.
Wow.
So I get there and I'm sitting next to Billy Martin and Yogi Berra, who was 4 feet away from me.
Right.
And I'm sitting in Steinbrenner's seats with my father and my brothers.
Wow.
Okay. That was my first time with George Steinbrenner. So I call him up. He goes, "Tony, you don't understand. I'm a big fan. I love the show. I love the TV show." He was wonderful to me. Okay, years go by. I go back to Fort Lauderdale to do a show, and at the Performing Arts Center near the stadium. And I say to the guys, "It's winter, but let's go over and see the Yankees ballpark because I just want to feel the Yankees, right?" And their shop is always open, their gift shop. So I walk in with my whole band, Robbie. We walk in on the road. All of a sudden, who comes through a door? George Steinbrenner.
Wow.
He looks at me and goes, "What are you doing here, you bum?" And I said, "What are you doing here with all these bums of yours? What is this?" I said, "This is my band, George." He goes, "This is your band?" I said, "Yeah, we're playing at the hall right down." He goes, "Hang on, I'll be right back." And he runs back up that dark door, black door. It goes upstairs. I know that he went up because the guy told me so. And he comes back with 7 hats.
Wow.
And it was those hats, Ray, was the centennial or whatever, 100 years as Yankees. And he gives us, and he signed every single hat.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
The driver who drove him down there pulls me aside and says, "Tony, I want to tell you something. Mr. Steinbrenner is a nice man, but he doesn't do that too often." He said, you must have made an impression on him in some way. I said, I believe you, but I think that's really what I saw today was really the heart of the man. So now let me take the story one step forward. You know, Ray, I grew up with Joe Torre.
Right.
Yeah.
Joe Torre and I go back to when I was 15 years old. I would go to Joe Torre's house in Brooklyn, and his mother would make me pasta.
Wow.
Okay? So Joe Torre, if you remember, went and had a prostate operation.
Right.
And there was all in the news, so this is not news.
Right.
And it was a cancer scare. So he's in Kansas City. I'm in Branson, Missouri. I drive up to Kansas City, and I sit with Joe and Frank. Now, Joe, to show you that Joe was not with the team because of that surgery, he's up in the press box. I'm up there with him.
Yes.
And I say to Joe, I don't know how bad this cancer thing is or scary is, I said, but why don't you just quit? I said, you're going to be in the Hall of Fame. You could be there as a manager. He says, I don't think so. I said, yeah, you're going to be there as a manager. I'm telling you, you are. Now, this is like 80s, late 80s. No, this is like middle 90s.
90s.
He goes, I said, you got your little girl, you got Allie now. Go home and call it a day, man. I mean, you've done everything there is to do. I want to see you live more. I want to see you enjoy life. He said, Tony, I can't do that. I said, why? He said, I owe it to the boss.
Wow.
I said, what? He said, I owe it to Mr. Steinbrenner.
Wow.
I can't do that to him. I'm here until he tells me I'm not here. Now, I could not believe talk about loyalty we had with Mr. Hernandez. You know, Ray, the loyalty that Joe showed to Mr. Steinbrenner, it wasn't him. It wasn't his family. It wasn't his ego. It wasn't the fact that he could be in the Hall of Fame. It wasn't about enjoying life. It was about respecting George Steinbrenner.
Right.
I was put back by that.
Right.
I couldn't believe it, that he had that strong a feeling and loyalty. And Frank Torrey was sitting right next to me. And Frank hit me with his elbow. I'll never forget. Hit me with goes, hey, you know, you've been to my mom's house. That's what we're about, loyalty.
Wow.
Wow. Well,
That's the Yankee way, baby.
Yeah, we have a little video clip back in the day with Ruth Buzzy, and it's a kind of a funny clip. We want to check this out, show our viewers a little bit about you back in the day. Let's check it out. Tony Lando.
Take a number, please.
Take a number? I'm the only one here.
That voice. It can't be. What would he be doing in Angelo's butcher shop? Oh, it's him! Oh, it's Tony Orlando! Oh, but it couldn't be!
Yes, it is.
Oh, I've got all your records. And every Wednesday night at 8, I turn the world off while you turn me on.
It's classic stuff.
Here's the rest of that. What she does is that was a complete ad lib, by the way. And she ends up jumping and scissoring me with her legs around my waist and begins to scream and yell and sing my songs. And out comes Danny Thomas, who played her husband.
Wow.
And that entire scene, if you ever go to YouTube to see it, was a completely ad-libbed, unwritten. But Ruth was a comedic genius. You remember how on the Dean Martin roasts when she'd get up and beat people? Remember with her purse? Laughing. She was amazing. She was amazing.
Right. Well, we have a fan out here, Bob D'Amato, who's a local performer. Let's pull him up. He has a quick question for you. Bobby, you're there.
Yeah, Tony, how are you? Tony, I don't know if you remember me, Bobby D.
Hey, Bobby, how are you?
Okay, how are you? I met you at Eisenhower. Here we are. There we are at Eisenhower Park.
I remember.
So, Tony, it's such an honor to be talking with you. Steve allowed me to come on tonight, and I just wanted to mention something. I want to bounce off what Robbie Robinson said. That night I spoke to you at Eisenhower Park. We talked about something, and it was about scratching the itch.
Yeah.
You had a sister that you took care of for 21 years, and she was unable to scratch her itch, and you did it for her.
Right.
And that night you told me, Bobby, don't ever stop scratching your itch. Well, I haven't stopped, and now I did a couple of shows with Steve and Ray here, who are the greatest, most inspirational guys on the planet, besides you. And I just I want to continue to give back. And a couple of weeks ago, I was on one of the shows, and Steve asked me, so what does entertainment do? Well, I said, you know what we're missing? We're missing the Jerry Lewis Labor Day telethon today. That's what we're missing. Yeah. And maybe one day you want to resurrect something like that. I know you got the radio show. I listen to you every Saturday night. But you truly are one of the most generous people in show business. Truly.
Thank you so much. You know, that's what's important in life, really. You can have hit records and you can have all that. But, I found out when you have all the great stars that we remember, fame is so fleeting. People are not sitting around going, oh, I can't live without Michael Jackson. Oh, I can't live without Jackie Gleason. Oh, I can't live without. No. And the beat goes on. And that's why fame should be considered just a sweat bead on your back. It's what you are as a human being, like you guys, what you are as a person that counts. That's your legacy. It's what you do for people. That story you told just now about my sister. My sister had cerebral palsy and she was mentally retarded. That's the improper, impolitical term today. But she was, dealing with an IQ of an 8-month-old baby until she died at 21. I'll repeat that. She had an IQ of an 8-month-old baby until she died at 21. So she couldn't scratch her own itch. And what that taught me was every time I went on stage and I said, hey, you guys, clap your hands. One day I come backstage one day and said to me, I hate that crap where you say clap your hands. That's ridiculous. It's like childish. I said, let me tell you something. My sister couldn't scratch her own itch. You can. And you can clap your own hands. My sister couldn't clap her own hands. And as long as you're able to scratch your own itch, you know what it is when you scratch your own itch? If you can't scratch it, you go, somebody scratch it for me. Right. You can't reach it. Finally, somebody scratches it. What do? You go, oh. How important a simple act of scratching your own itch is. That's what my sister taught me.
Right.
Well, Tony, that story stuck with me.
Well, Bobby, thank you so very much, Bobby.
More to me than that.
And Tony, before I go, we have a mutual friend, Tony Adonalfi of the Bronx Wanderers.
Oh, okay.
All right, thank you, Bobby. All right, take care. Thanks for coming in.
We got a clip here.
Yeah, we have a little clip that we need to show. Tony, thank you for joining us here tonight. God bless you,
Tony,
sir.
we love
Thank you. We love you so very much.
I didn't talk too much. I have to
No, Tony,
Tony, we didn't get enough.
Yeah, we have to have
We
you come
didn't get
back.
enough.
Gotta have him come back.
We
Absolutely.
still didn't talk about Elvis. We didn't talk about Frank Sinatra.
8 to 10 Eastern time, I'm doing the 77 WABC New Year's Eve show with Cousin Brucey.
We will be on.
We'll be on there.
We'll be
God
on,
bless.
and we'll be letting everybody know to get on.
God bless.
Yeah.
Well, let's check out this little local video that we need to show, John Thiessen Foundation. Let's check it out.
John, why did you, in essence, want to help Gio Urshela and Gleyber Torres so badly with the tour?
Because they care so much about the kids in the community that they're playing in. And
John,
we care about New Yorkers.
You've been
We
doing
care
this
about
for
the
29
years. Yeah, started after having a brain tumor.
Oh my God! And you're hoping he could make.
Absolutely, 100%. I'm a Yankee. I got Yankee fan myself. So, but that's not what it's about. That's not what it's about.
John, and now look at this over here. I mean, it doesn't happen.
No.
It doesn't happen.
29 years.
And we're going to be in the Bronx tomorrow. We're going to be in the Bronx Wednesday. We're going to be in the Bronx Thursday. John,
Whatever
thank
we
you.
can do to get it done.
Gio,
Please.
thank you. Gleyber, thank you.
Awesome.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Hero.
Prove that.
Hero.